A new poll finds a majority of Torontonians stand behind Mayor Chow.
71% of respondents to the Liaison Strategies survey approve of the job that she's doing, while 22% disapprove. We're going to get into that in just a moment. Her highest support is among people aged 18 to 49 and those who live downtown. Now, on the other hand, just 16% of residents support the plan to change the name of Yonge Dundas Square to Sankofa Square. 72% disapprove.
And for more on this, we're joined by David Valentin, the principal at Liaison Strategies. Thank you very much for taking time to be with us this afternoon. Chow's approval rating, it's still pretty high.
It's still very, very high. I think she's still in that honeymoon period. And of course, as you were talking before with your last guest, she's about to go into the budget process. And we're being told that there may be some things in there maybe that the Torontonians may not like. So we'll see how her approval ratings hold up on the other side of the budget. But for now, it's still very early goings. She's, a lot of people like the job that she's doing. And we're seeing very high approvals in most of the city, with the exclusion of Etobicoke, where it's a little lower at this point.
Okay, talk to me about that, because there's a lot of support for her in the core. That's not a surprise. But things begin to change once you head west.
Support is really strong in downtown Toronto, in North York. Then you see it gets a little softer in Scarborough. And by softer, I mean it's still 66% of people who approve of her there. But in Etobicoke, it's down to 55%. So Etobicoke is behaving a little differently than the rest of the city when it comes to this question.
Okay, Yonge Dundas Square. What are people saying about changing the name to Sankofa Square?
We've polled a lot of different issues. We've been here to talk about the results for them. I don't think we've seen numbers quite this strikingly bad for something before. No category supports this. No part of the city supports this. No gender, no age demographic supports this. And I think it may be one of those things where if people sat down and explained it to you, maybe then you might be in favor of it. Maybe not still, right? But I think the name might have come as a surprise to a lot of people. I don't know how much public consultation there really was before council voted on this. And so now, rather than getting that buy-in and having that support for this, they're just sort of trying to sell it. And so far, the sales job is not going well.
This poll also looked at provincial politics, and this was really interesting. It found that if an election were to be held in Ontario today, the Liberals would win.
Well, the Liberals would win here in the city of Toronto. And I think it's really striking that the Liberals have gone from leading in different parts of the city to now almost all of the city. The only part left that they're sort of trailing in is Etobicoke. So it's really interesting to see, because they have the new leader, Bonnie Crombie, and she's doing well enough that they could actually win official party status just from Toronto alone if an election were held today. So we're going to continue looking at other parts of the province and to see how they're doing in other corners. But here in the city, very good numbers so far.
Okay. What about federal politics?
Well, federally, things are going not so well for Mr. Trudeau here in the city of Toronto. Now, he's still leading, but I think the important context for people to know is the Liberals were elected in all the Toronto seats last election. And of course, there was a situation with one of the MPs in Spudden Fort York. He's no longer in the Liberal Party, but all the other seats are Liberal seats. It doesn't look like that would be the case if an election were held today. We're seeing slippage downtown. We're seeing slippage in Scarborough in particular, where it looks like it's almost a three-way race with the NDP and the Conservatives. And then in Etobicoke, the Liberals are trailing by 10 percentage points, and the Conservatives are ahead. So, chances they could win every single seat again does not look so good. Maybe 5 or 6 here would have to go at this point.
Interesting. And how are things looking for the opposition parties, the Conservatives and the NDP in Toronto?
The NDP are running into a little bit of an issue in downtown Toronto. Their number is good. It's relatively high, but it's not high enough to win them a lot of seats, maybe 1 or 2 at the most. The Conservatives are doing well because their support's concentrated in Etobicoke, and they're not far behind. They're only 1 percentage point behind in Scarborough right now.
Okay, David Valentin, principal at Liaison Strategies. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.